Hey, how's it going, guys? What is up? Soros here once again for the first actual proper video of this decade. For this video, I'll be covering Cosmos full limit break weapons and my thoughts behind them. And for the last part of the video, I will share some of the grids that are worthy of mention. First and foremost, the original stances that were included in every single Cosmos weapons are now gone. They have removed everything and decided to simplify every single one of them into just a single weapon type. This is a really good thing because you don't really have to bother farming for hours just for a specific stance, just so you can, I don't know, fit it in like a single team that you want to use or something. Now that is just being so simplified, is really easy to make full use out of these Cosmos weapons. Alright, and before I move on, there's one more thing I want to mention, because it's actually called Cosmic Weapons, and I've been like mentioning Cosmos the last few times, so Cosmic is actually the English name they have mentioned in the translation, but originally in Japanese they tend to call it as Cosmos. So it kind of stuck with me ever since, so I'm just gonna let you guys know beforehand. Anyway, moving on. These stance removal are only bad for one single thing. Cosmos weapons are literally a meme right now when it's not upgraded. By that I mean just having it, because they're all max limit break the moment you get your hands on them anyway. Now that we are pretty much forced to get them to full limit break in order to properly use them. Basically, in short, if you're planning to use like the Cosmos weapons, you better be ready to like farm the Grand Order HL materials in order to limit break them. The reason for this is pretty simple. The only thing the weapons are providing you are a stat boost to your party. Yes, that is the only thing that the weapon will provide you at max limit break. But the moment you full limit break it, it will provide a much bigger stat boost, which is around 50% boost to attack and HP, compared to its max limit break version, which is only 30%. Plus, once you get it to level 150, you will also unlock the second perk, which allows you to get 1% damage cap based on how many of the weapon types you have currently equipped. This also includes the Cosmos weapon itself, so keep this in mind. This is very important. So for example, you have a Chef or like Lumi grid, and you're using up to 4 swords, and you're using Cosmos as well. So you have like a total of 5 swords, right? That will provide you a total of 5% damage cap to your weapon grid. Another thing to keep in mind is that it shares the same modifier as other weapons in the game that provides you this so-called damage cap. You know, like for example, like Kirin Bow, or like the Alatir or Gandalf sword, or like Colossus sword, for just to name a few. You can have a total of 20% damage cap in your grid. So yes, keep this in mind. It's very important. So that's pretty much the whole gist of the whole Cosmos full limit break thing. Is it good? Yes, very. It's basically, it really feels like I'm back in 2016 again, when all of these standard Cosmos weapons are really, you know, the thing that you probably want to aim for as well back in those days. Oh man, it really makes me feel like a total boomer right about now. Does this help us in any way? Yes, even more so than ever, especially with the current grind of the whole free-to-play primal grids and such. Anyway, enough of me just talking about this. Let's go in game and I'll share you some of the grids that are worth mentioning, and I'm sure you have already seen some of these specific grids in like my previous experimental videos that I kind of uploaded last year. Hello, now we are in the game, so I'm going to share you like some of the grids that you know, that I probably be using quite a bit, or you know, at least worthy of mention. So another thing before I actually move forward to this is that the one thing that I probably missed from like the stuff that you've been listening to earlier is that Cosmos weapon, in order to really make full use out of this, you just need probably a minimum of 5. From what I've seen so far, at least like screw around with, you just really only need 5 like of the same weapon types, and outside of that, if you have more, if you can fit more, sure, that's great and all, but if any lesser than 5, I don't think is even worth slotting in the Cosmos weapon. So yeah, another thing that you probably might want to keep in consideration when it comes to like slotting in your Cosmos weapons and such. Anyway, let's just jump right into it, to the actual grid stuff. Alright, first is probably the one that I want to share my win, because this is actually one of the, I think this is definitely how it was back in 2016, because 2016 the whole Wind Magna was definitely a thing is also because, well, Magna guns was the Tiamat guns are actually very, very strong even back in those days. And the other thing that you add along with that is having the extra Cosmos gun, right? So that's why I did try that. I tried to fill in as many guns as I could because, because why not, right? But the other problem with this is that you have to deal with enmity, right? But honestly, I think in some cases having enmity is actually a really good thing. Or, when it comes to like high defense rates and such. So I was actually thinking that a grid like this could be very, very, very good when it comes to like the upcoming, like maybe there's like an upcoming Win Favorite Guild War in like February. I don't know. For all we know, that could be the next one. That's my guess. I could be wrong. But yeah, so you get a lot of enmity from this because you have like 5 different guns, and then I have Opus as well, and then you have the Seraphic, and then you got the extra damage cap along with it. So you have like 6 different guns, plus this is a 7 gun. So you have 7 guns, and that would technically mean you have 7% of damage cap, and then you add another one from this, then so you get an extra 10%, I think. I don't remember how much was this, but yeah, yeah, remember what I said earlier, this shares the same of damage cap modifier in your grid, so you have to keep that in mind. Besides that, it's actually fairly simple. You just basically get all the guns, and the other ones that to fill in basically is just like your usual stuff, because nowadays usual stuff tends to always be having a Seraphic weapon along with Opus, and then you have like whatever main hand, and then if you want to add in like if you have somehow like an extra Love Eternal or whatever, I guess, or any grand weapons, basically, you can just slot it in there for all we know. You don't really have to follow what I have. This is just basically giving you like a little hint of what you can probably do. So I do have 7 guns in here, so it's actually pretty good. I mean, you already seen like my experimental video. This was already shown in like last few weeks. Yeah, summon wise, it's not no. You don't really have to have like what I have either way. Basically, you can just probably put in like Akaram summon and I don't know, Belial or whatever. And I don't think that really makes much of a difference. If not stronger, because you've Belial and such, you can just slot in whatever you have. Basically, honestly, I think that this grid is gonna be very, very strong already. The moment you have your HP like probably 75% or 50%. Heck, I think even at 75, I remember testing you. Your damage is already relatively strong when you have a very minimal buff. Even at full HP, I think you can do relatively okay when you have like Neo and like Monkey's buff and such. It's already really, really strong. Anyway, so this is like I would say probably like the only one I can think of right now for the Wind Magna. So let's hop onto the other Wind one. So this is one of the grid that I was working on with for the Morigna, so-called Morigna grid. This is totally free to play. There's no grand weapons whatsoever in this. It's all of this is farmable. Then I even have like the Tiamat Fist in here too, and it's not even 5 stars as well. So I did try this quite a bit, and it's actually usable. Yeah, it's actually somewhat usable, and because you already have like a total of 6 as well, because you have 4 bows here, and then the Seraphic itself is also considered a bow, and then you add a Cosmos weapon, so that will make it 6. So you get extra 6%. You might kind of think that you kind of want to add in more damage cap, but I honestly think that's not really like the focus point here, because I feel like you getting like very consistent damage is kind of like the key here for this. Plus, it's also a free-to-play grid after all. If I want to go more in-depth when it comes to like the Morigna grid and such, you'll probably see that in a future video. I am planning to make that, so just look out for it. You can, click that subscribe button, ring the bell, and all that shit. Yeah, that's right. Then you'll see it more. So anyway, for my Morigna grid is basically just the standard lineup and having the Fist. It works. It definitely works, and having the Neo buff and Monkey buff actually feels like a very important thing for this. The really good thing about this is that it's not like how Magna is, where it's either catered to enmity and stamina, right? So it's very consistent damage throughout as long you have your buffs up. That's the only thing I kind of notice when it comes to like, especially when higher defense rates kind of thing. But besides that, I think it's, for a free-to-play, Primal Grid is actually pretty good. The only other thing I would probably want to change is that having a much better main summon, because as you can tell, my main summon is absolutely shit. Because I'm using a 0-star ANET and I do not have a full limit break Zeph as of the recording. So that's really the only other thing I could really say about that. And the other thing I probably want to add in is that the HRT summon that I have, or Raphael summon that I have, is also 0 stars, has not upgraded yet. It'll be better if you have it upgraded, you know, just to get your stats up, like, you know, just skyrocket your stats a whole lot more, because honestly, I feel like that's what Cosmos weapons tends to do for you. It just skyrockets your raw stats altogether, because it adds 50% more stats on each of the weapon that you have, right? So that's the other thing that I just wanted to say. So anyway, that's honestly like the whole thing I have for Win currently. So anyway, let's move on to Dark. So anyway, this is my Dark grid. This is my Dark Primal grid. It's not exactly free to play, but I just wanted to share, right? Because I really think this is a really awesome grid I have been using for quite a bit, and I'm really loving it. So just, it's too good not to share, right? So the other thing that you may notice, that stamina, or if not enmity for Hades grids, and you want to make use of Cosmos, is actually doable. Very, very doable, in fact. So for example, this is the one that I have, and I only made 3 Fallen Swords, if you're wondering. So I did also make Blood Gang, because I didn't really need to burn too many bars for that, because I had like quite a bit of copies of that. I think if I recall correctly, I need to only use 1 bar for this. I had like 3 copies and stuff. So why not, right? And it really works quite well too, because not to mention Blood Gang is a relatively good weapon, because he has two attack mods in here, and it really helps emphasize the primal with Baha even more, right? So that, another thing is that I have total of 6 weapons, 6 swords in this, and it's actually really, really nice, because I even have Kirin bow, so it even helps out with that. And then with the whole Restless setup, and then we use like the whole Nia and stuff, dude, it's just pretty damn insane. You don't really have to like just use, you know, this specific setup that I have currently. You can probably just make use of basically any other, you know, any other character out there that we already have at this point, you know, like Shalem, even Red. You want to make use of Red, by all means. Lucius, up to you, man. It's really up to you. As for the main hand, you can technically just swap it out whenever you feel like using a different class. Like a lot of cases, because for my Dark, I tend to only use like a very specific few classes, like that uses only swords, or uses katana, or uses fists. Besides that, I don't really use all that much these days. But yeah, I used to also use like you know, warlock or any classes that uses dagger previously, because I do have a Parazonium as well. So you can technically kind of use that as well. But in my opinion, I think if you really want to use like a grid that just emphasize Cosmos, you kind of want to fit in as many of the same weapon types for the specific grid, right? So that's one of the reasons why I don't really use Parazonium anymore. Even though Parazonium is still a good weapon, you can just kind of consider like using like different setups and all that. So that's just to say it. Okay, so this is the other one that I don't think I actually shared a video of it, even though I did tested it a while ago. So the other one that I did test is the Magna Fist, right? The Magna 1 grid, which includes just Celeste weapon, Celeste claws, and with the Cosmos weapon, I even included Ultima Fist in there too. But honestly, I don't think you really need to go this many claws. I think these days, as long as you already did like a 5-star claw, right? Then again, this is like the only 5-star claw which I have currently, which is technically given from the game itself, from the anime, if you guys remember that. Yeah, that's the only one I have. The rest is all only full limit break. But I'm pretty certain if you really like 5-star them, right? I don't think you even need 4. You can basically just forego one other claw and just put another abyss spine in there or avatar stick in there just so you can cap your Ogi a lot higher, and then you can still make do with like whichever team that you can come up with. Yeah, you can pretty much do that. It's still the same. I don't have my own Celeste, so I'm using a Baha. Technically, you can just use like Baha or even your own Celeste and just find another Baha. I don't think that really matters. Just choose whichever that is much more comfortable for you. I don't think you want to go double Celeste either way, but having your own Baha and using another person's Baha is a lot better. But because my Celeste is not Follow Me Break yet, so I'm not actually using that. I have to actually find my a friend Celeste in order for me to test this. But yeah, most of the time it's better for you to use your own Celeste, and if you have your own Baha, you can like have the consistent cycle. I'm pretty sure you guys remember that. So it's pretty good because I mean it's NBT. NBT will have really like no problems capping like at all, because probably at like 75 or even 50% HP. Yeah, pretty sure 75% even. You wouldn't have any problems capping at all. This grid is very, very consistent. NBT just helps you all together, and yeah, shit just blows up, right? As long as you're like slightly on the lower HP side and just do damage. It's pretty darn easy, especially if when you have like the likes of Nia, when you have the likes of Red or whatever, whichever characters, Shalim, you know, all the usual kick-ass dark characters that you have, because dark is already so freaking stacked, right? As long as you have any of those characters, you're pretty set. Alright, the other thing that I want to mention about the primal grid when it comes to like the Cosmos, right? I don't exactly have it, but I can kind of give you like an idea for it. So if you're kind of like one of those guys who wants to go into like really all in onto Hades, and you want to go like the whole I don't know, racing and such, and probably make use of Cosmos along with that, you know, you use Zoe and all that shit, you can probably make use of that as well with the help of Gislas, right? Gislas is still gonna be a thing because NBT is just so damn strong on the weapon regardless. So you definitely want to at least have a minimum of 4 Gislas. Oh god, voice crack. So you'll definitely at least want to have a minimum of 4 Gislas, I would say, minimum. And then you kind of want to put in like the Cosmos weapon in there. And if you can use the Xenosphere, it will help as well, because that will bump up to 6, right? Because if you have 4 Gislas and then with Cosmos you only have 5, that's like typically like the bare minimum. And like you don't really make like use of any other spears out there, because there's really not much spears that is left to use when it comes to like having primal. Yeah, you can technically just use like this few 4 Gislas, the Cosmos and the Xenosphere, and then just call it a day. Or if not, you could probably just fit in Cosmos not Cosmos weapon. You can just fit in Xenosphere in your grid just because you have a Cosmos spear equipped, and then you just use any other main hand if you wish. That works too. If you want to do that, by all means, you can just go ahead. You know, like probably if you want to use like Soldier, yeah, why not, right? You don't exactly have to have this, because this grid of mine is actually just showing the grid that I use for Fasan for my Dark. So it's totally different, but this is probably like the only closest that I have set up for that specific setup I'm talking about right now. So anyway, let's move on to Light, shall we? Alright, on to Light. And so this is my one of the few that I probably tried, and it doesn't seem to be that bad. So this is the first one that I tried, which because I kind of transitioned into Zeus or Primal, so decided to try it out. So this is my first one, which involves swords. Yes, so we're back again at 2016 once again, being a fucking boomer and all that shit. So the whole point of this is that I tried to fit in as many swords as I can. So as you can see, my entire grid, 99% of my grid are swords. Main hand is sword, off hand is sword, 4 chef swords, Cosmos sword, Ultima sword, Xeno sword. The only thing that is not the sword is the seraphic weapon, because that's a harp, right? So honestly, I've tested this and it's not bad. It's actually not bad. The only problem with that is with this is that probably you still need a little bit of a buff to actually make that work. But honestly, I think having like the whole full sword grid is actually still okay. And the other crazy part about this, because this is a sword oriented grid, right? This can also be applied for Magna. You can literally just switch this Opus thingy into the Magna version, and then you just put Chef in there, and it probably still work anyway. So yeah, that's pretty fucking crazy. So it's definitely one thing that you, or probably anyone could just try this. The only problem is, well, you have to, well, good luck farming swords, I suppose. I mean, then again, it's 2020 now. Getting a sword seems to be like a normal thing these days, right? And so the other one that I have is for Primal, which is the Hector grid, because I'm pretty certain you already seen my Hector video, which I already shared a while ago. And so I decided to try, hey, why not putting in the Cosmos Fist in there to try it out? So, which I did. It doesn't seem to be that bad, but at the same time, it's like, I honestly feel like almost no difference whatsoever. But yeah, it's like, I did used to have a Chef Sword in here, and the only thing it does right now is like the HP isn't really that different, and the damage is kind of like the same. If not, I can probably just cap slightly higher because I have like total of 5% extra cap because there's only like 5 fists here. It's kind of hard to say because I have 2 Edens in this grid as well. And if I want to use like a full free-to-play grid for Hector, seems to be somewhat a little bit harder because you don't really have that crazy amount of extra damage that comes from Eden itself, right? So it's relatively hard for you to do that, but honestly, it's still somewhat doable even with the likes of not having any Edens anyway. The only problem is that the only really big problem I would say for like this specific grid is that Light does not have a lot of, well, good fist weapons, right? You're very limited when it comes to fist weapons because the only other thing that you can probably or think of or use is like the likes of Huanglong Fist, right? But the problem with using that is it's also an EX weapon, and this specific grid is already so heavily focused on having that EX EX attack mod because, well, you have the Hector Fist because of, you know, this Grand Epic thingy. You already have so much EX mods, and then you add another unknown weapon or EX weapon along with that. It kind of dilutes the grid a whole lot more, so it's not really that helpful. So that's why it's like just having 5 is honestly, I think, is already enough. And then if you have like maybe even 1 Eden, it really would help quite a bit because you can definitely see just having 1 Eden just skyrockets your numbers a whole lot. You can probably just forgo that and just fit in like the 2 Chef Swords or something instead of the Edens that I have. You could probably do that, or, you know, put in like whichever other weapons that you currently have and just put in as placeholder for the time being. Yeah, you could just do that. But for the time being, I think this is pretty okay. Alright, so this is probably like the last few ones that I only have to share because I don't really have it all set up at the moment. So my fire is the only one that I actually did try it out as well, which involves the Prometheus weapons, the whole free-to-play Agni grid, which has 4, you know, the usual setup, the 4+1 thing, right? So I did try it out. So this is actually pretty good as well because you do have quite a bit of the swords that you can use. The only other thing that if you actually seen me mention or remember what I mentioned about Light before, you kind of dilute by having an unknown weapon in the grid, right? But because I think having the Proving Ground Sword is actually really good when it comes to like using Glorybringer. But honestly, I think it's not really that needed either way, because the most important one is your grid itself, which can honestly easily fill in a total of 6 already, because you have 4 of these swords, and then with your Cosmos sword and your Seraph weapon is a sword as well. So you can technically have 6 weapons at all times. You don't really have to use this, because the other one that I tend to use is this specific one, which involves using the Hollow Sky Hollow Sky Spear. So the reason why I tend to be a little bit more comfortable using this is because, like, you know, the whole burning aspect of using the prom stick, right? You're just consistently losing 5% HP every single time. So most of the time I tend to always use the spear, just so I can get the extra drain or the extra the healing when it comes to, you know, you just need the some sort of extra sustain to keep your HP up when you're, I don't know, when you're probably already taking way too much turns. Because, you know, if you're already like too deep into turns, like say turn 15 or something, you're probably already taking like at least I don't know, more than 50% of your HP already at that point, right? So you would probably be a lot lower, like really low HP at that point, and especially if you do not have like major sustain, like having your own bunkles, or, you know, like the likes of Satyr and stuff like that. You know, all those extra sustainable summons that will help you, or even characters at that point. You know, especially when having Frau or even this old man here. Yeah, if you don't have that, or even the likes of Athena, yeah, it can be relatively tough to survive in a really long run, or if not, like a very slow fight, because this shit will just slowly kill you. But either way, this is pretty damn good. So my last grid, right? So this is gonna be my last grid, which is involving my water setup, which is technically my OTK Kango kind of shit, which uses fish as well. So it's kind of obvious I'm using Harp, and because I'm using 4 freaking Europa harps with the Xeno harp, it makes it even better because you have so many freaking harps anyway. Just makes it so much better. Basically, this is definitely a much better OTK than I had previously, because, you know, previously I had the whole attack specific stance thingy before, as you can remember. I mentioned this in the beginning of the video. So yeah, my OTK is definitely a lot better, having the extra fucking 6% cap as well. It definitely helps with the amount of extra stats that I get from this, because I know I got quite a significant boost in terms of the raw stat. It definitely helps out a lot. And this, you have to keep in mind, I do not have like a single plus mark in this weapon grid as well. I only have like a little bit of plus marks. Heck, the only plus mark you see right now is on my Baha, nothing else. So yeah, this is pretty damn good when it comes to like water OTK. So yeah, anyway, so that's technically the only ones that I do have, but I do want to add in like notable ones that you are like worthy mentions, I would say, when it comes to grids. So the other one is probably you might want to consider is like having the if you're using Varuna, if you are using that, and then you have like the 3 ball setup, you definitely want to slot in, like, or at least try to slot in a Cosmos stick as well, or a staff for that matter. It definitely would be probably something that you want to consider, because you have to also keep in mind that Water Opus is also a staff. So you just have that with the help of your 3 balls, and then you have 1 Cosmos that's technically already 5, and you can kind of make use of that. And which also kind of helps if you're somehow using the the wheel stick, the new wheel staff. Yeah, I do know some people actually use that, or if not, if you're like crazy enough, you kind of want to go with the whole the sub-ticket new water stick or something, you can kind of go with that, I suppose. And then the other one I probably could somewhat think of right now, you could probably just, if you already have like a full Magna 1 grid of like Yugu, like Earth, you could also use that with Sword, or you could also just, use Cosmos Dagger with your Leviathan Dagger grid. You could technically just do that, and then you can still be relatively okay. Heck, you could probably just, I don't know, make your whole AES grid or Ancient Axe grid with Cosmos Sword. You could probably do that too, but yeah, those are like the few worthy ones that I do have at the moment. Honestly, there's probably other other grids out there that I did not mention, but they are still pretty damn good anyway. I really do love this whole Cosmos Full Lumen Break upgrade altogether. It's such a great addition to the game. It just makes it more flexible when it comes to grid building, because a lot of times where we have back in my days or at least in 2017 or even 2018 in general, like the whole grid building can be still somewhat be very stagnant, and now currently GBF have like already at that point where we can use different grids and still be somewhat on par with the rest. But when it comes to like, you know, racing and all that shit, that's a whole different story, because that's like probably like one of the few grids that you can only consider when it comes to racing, and or if not having like crazy ping, right? You know, living in Japan and all that stuff. So if you don't really care about that, I honestly think that Cosmos weapons in general are pretty damn good. So anyway, as always, hopefully you guys find this video helpful. Make sure you hit the like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. There's definitely more of these kind of videos in the near future. So as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope to see you guys on the next video or on stream. Peace.